Actually, Margaret left everything to your sister. The house, the investments, the antique collection. All of it. Mr. Harrison's steady voice filled the mahogany-paneled office as my brother Derek's face drained of color, his mouth opening and closing like a landed fish. For 28 years, I'd been the invisible granddaughter, useful only for caregiving and errands, but Grandma's final act would reveal she'd been playing a longer game than any of us imagined. The question was, did I have the strength to claim what she'd secretly prepared me to inherit? My name is Juniper, and I'm 28 years old. Sitting in that law office on a rainy Tuesday morning, watching my brother's entitlement crumble in real time, I felt the weight of every family gathering where I'd been dismissed, overlooked, and patronized. The leather chair beneath me had held 3 generations of our family during will readings, but this was the first time a woman had sat in it as the primary beneficiary. This is bullshit, Derek finally managed, his Yale class ring catching the light as he slammed his fist on the table. Check again. There's been a mistake. Mr. Harrison, who'd been Grandma Margaret's lawyer for 30 years, simply adjusted his glasses and read again. To my granddaughter, Juniper Rose Whitfield, I leave the entirety of my estate, with the following exceptions. To my grandson, Derek Whitfield IE, I leave my father's pocket watch and the sum of $1. So he cannot contest this will on grounds of omission. $1. The precision of that insult was so perfectly grandma that I almost smiled. She had dementia, Derek sputtered, turning to our parents. Dad, tell him. The last 2 years, she didn't even recognize people. Your grandmother was examined by 3 independent physicians 6 months ago when she updated her will, Mr. Harrison interjected smoothly. All confirmed she was of sound mind. She actually insisted on the evaluation, said she wanted everything ironclad. Our father, Derek Jr., sat frozen beside our mother, both looking like they'd been slapped. They'd been so certain of the outcome, the eldest son inheriting, as had happened for generations. They'd already been discussing renovations to Grandma's Victorian mansion, assuming Derek would generously allow them to live in the carriage house. Juniper doesn't even have a job. Our mother, Patricia, found her voice. She's been living off student loans and doing those little craft things. Margaret must have been confused. Those little craft things. My restoration work that had been featured in 3 major design magazines. But in my family's eyes, anything that didn't come with a corporate title was a hobby. Perhaps, Mr. Harrison said, pulling out a thick envelope, this will clarify matters. He handed me a letter, my name written across it in Grandma's distinctive script. She asked that you read this aloud, Miss Whitfield. My hands trembled as I opened it. The room smelled of leather and old money, the same scent that had clung to every family gathering where my worth was measured and found wanting. My dearest Juniper, I began, my voice steadier than I felt. If you're reading this, then Mr. Harrison has just delivered news that has likely shocked your family. Good. They need shocking. Derek snorted. Vindictive old. Let her read, Mr. Harrison commanded with surprising authority. I continued. For 28 years, I've watched this family dismiss you because you were born female. I've held my tongue as your brother was given opportunities, education, and respect that you had to fight for. I've seen your parents fund his MBA while telling you that girls don't need expensive degrees. I've watched Derek fail upward while you succeeded in shadows. This is character assassination, Derek protested. I worked for everything. Everything. I looked at him directly for the first time. Like the internship Dad arranged, the business loan from his golf buddy, the condo Mom and Dad bought you for graduation while I got a gift card to Target. You chose to study art history, Mom said defensively. We told you it wasn't practical. Let me finish Grandma's letter. I cut her off, returning to the paper. What your family doesn't know, Juniper, is that we've been planning this for years. Every Thursday when you came to help me, we were building your future. The restoration work you did on my furniture. I've been selling pieces under my name, putting every penny into a trust. The errands you ran, you were meeting with my investment advisors, learning what this family never bothered to teach you. The room went silent. Even Derek stopped protesting. Your portfolio, I continued reading, currently stands at $1.2 million. The art and antiques in the house are worth another $2.3 million. You're the only one who knows their true value because you're the only one who ever really looked. The house itself is worth $4.5 million, And the remaining investments bring the total estate to approximately $12 million. $12 million? Derek's voice cracked. But I thought. You thought she was comfortable but not wealthy, I finished, because you never paid attention. You visited for holidays and birthdays, made small talk about your job, and counted the days until you could leave. You never noticed the Monet in the powder room or the first edition Hemingways in the library. You never asked about her life, her travels, her interests. And you did, he sneered, playing the perfect granddaughter. I listened, I said simply. Do you know she spoke 4 languages, that she'd traveled to 60 countries, that she'd run a successful import business in the 1960s when women weren't supposed to run anything? Of course you don't, because when she tried to tell her stories at dinner, you were always checking your phone. I returned to the letter. I'm leaving you everything not out of favoritism, but out of justice. You're the only one who saw me as a person, not a checkbook or an obligation. You're also the only one with the knowledge and skill to preserve what I've built. Your brother would sell to the highest bidder. Your parents would parcel it out to maintain appearances. But you understand that wealth isn't just money. It's history, beauty, and responsibility. This won't stand. Dad finally spoke, his lawyer voice emerging. We'll contest. Undue influence. Try it, Mr. Harrison interrupted, producing another document. Mrs. Whitfield anticipated this. She had every conversation with family members recorded for the last 2 years. Would you like me to play the one where you told her that women's money always ends up in men's hands anyway, so Direct should inherit? Or perhaps the one where your wife suggested Mrs. Whitfield was too old to make financial decisions? Mom went pale. She recorded us? Every word, I said, remembering the small recorder Grandma always kept in her knitting basket, including Derek's greatest hits. Remember when you told her that I was probably a lesbian because I was 25 and single? Or when you said women in business were just diversity hires? She kept a special file labeled Evidence of Stupidity. Derek stood abruptly. This is entrapment or something. She set us up. She revealed you, I corrected. There's a difference. Mr. Harrison pulled out more papers. There's more. Mrs. Whitfield has established conditions for any family member who wishes to contest the will. If you challenge it and lose, which you will, you forfeit the family burial plots and any items of sentimental value she set aside in storage. Additionally, the recordings will be released to what she called relevant parties. Relevant parties? Dad asked weakly. Your law partners, for one. Mr. Harrison smiled thinly. Mrs. Whitfield was quite thorough. I looked at my family, these people who'd made me feel small for so long. Mom, who'd spent my childhood telling me to be quieter, prettier, less ambitious. Dad, who'd introduced Direct as my son, the lawyer, and me as my daughter. She's also here. Direct, who'd gotten a car for his 16th birthday while I got a lecture about not being materialistic when I asked for driving lessons. You know what the funny thing is? I said, standing. I would have shared, if he'd ever, even once, treated me as an equal. I would have made sure everyone was taken care of. But you couldn't do it. Not even when I was the one driving Grandma to chemotherapy while Direct was too busy. Not when I spent every weekend helping her sort through decades of acquisitions while you all complained about the dust. Not even when I was the only one who noticed she'd stopped eating and got her to the doctor in time. That's not fair, Mom protested. We all loved her. You loved the idea of her, I shot back. The wealthy grandmother who would leave you her estate. But you never loved her. You never asked about her first husband who died in Korea, or why she never remarried. You never noticed that she donated millions to women's education because she'd been denied admission to law school in 1955. You never saw her cry every December 15th because that was the day she lost the baby that would have been my aunt. Silence filled the room. They hadn't known any of it. But I knew, I continued, because while you were all waiting for her to die, I was helping her live. And she saw everything. Every dismissive comment, every sexist joke, every time you overlooked me in favor of Direct. She wrote it all down. I pulled out my phone, scrolling to a photo. This is from last month. Grandma and I at the Whitfield Foundation's first board meeting. She established it to provide business loans to women entrepreneurs. I'm the executive director. We've already funded 12 businesses. The Whitfield Foundation. Derek's voice was hollow. But that's the family name you were so proud of? Yes, And it's doing exactly what Grandma wanted, supporting women who were told they don't need money, don't deserve opportunities, don't matter as much as their brothers. Mr. Harrison cleared his throat. There's one more matter. Mrs. Whitfield left sealed letters for each of you. Whether you open them is your choice, but she wanted you to have them. He distributed 3 envelopes. I watched as my parents and Derek held them like live grenades. I'll give you privacy, I said, moving toward the door. Mr. Harrison, could we discuss the transition? I'd like to ensure the household staff keeps their positions. Of course, Mrs. Whitfield said you'd ask that. She also said to tell you the safety deposit box key is in the tea tin. You'll know which one. I did know. The one shaped like a cat that Derek had always mocked as tacky. Inside was the key to a box containing her most valuable pieces, things she hidden in plain sight because no one else bothered to look closely. Juniper, Dad called as I reached the door. You can't just walk away from your family. I turned back one last time. I'm not walking away. I'm walking forward. You're welcome to catch up if you can let go of the idea that I'm worth less than Derek because of my gender. But I'm done making myself smaller so you can feel bigger. This is Grandma poisoning you against us, Derek said desperately. We're your family. She didn't poison me. She showed me what family could be. Someone who celebrates your successes instead of diminishing them. Someone who sees your worth beyond your reproductive organs. Someone who trusts you with their legacy because they know you'll honor it, not liquidate it. I left them there with their unopened letters and shattered expectations. In the parking lot, I sat in my beat-up Honda, the car I'd bought myself because help only came with Y chromosomes in the Whitfield family, and let the tears finally fall. My phone buzzed. A text from my best friend Emma. How did it go? I inherited everything, I typed back, and they learned nothing. But that wasn't my weight to carry anymore. I had a foundation to run, a house full of treasures to preserve, had a legacy to honor. Grandma had given me more than money. She'd given me the freedom to stop pretending I was less than I was. I drove to her house, my house now, and used my key for the first time as its owner. The foyer smelled like her perfume and possibility. On a hall table sat a photo I'd never seen before. Grandma in her 20s, standing in front of a building with a sign that read, M. Whitfield Imports. She was smiling like she owned the world. Now I understood why she'd chosen me. Not because I was perfect, but because I was the only one who'd inherited more than her eyes. I'd inherited her refusal to accept that girls don't need money, don't deserve opportunity, don't matter as much. The $12 million was nice, but the real inheritance was the knowledge that I'd been worthy all along. Grandma had just made sure everyone else knew it too. As I walked through the rooms filled with art and memory, I found one more note tucked into the mirror of her vanity. Juniper, they'll call you selfish, vindictive, manipulated. Let them. You know the truth. Women's money doesn't end up in men's hands anymore. It ends up changing the world. Now go change it. All my love, Grandma. I smiled, tucking the note into my pocket. Tomorrow, I'd meet with the foundation board. Next week, I'd start cataloging the collection properly. Next month, I'd host a fundraiser in this very house. But tonight, I pour a glass of her favorite sherry, sit in her library surrounded by first editions my brother never knew existed, and toast the woman who'd played the long game and won. To Margaret Whitfield, I said to the portrait above the fireplace, who knew that the best revenge isn't living well. It's living wealthy while funding other women to do the same. Somewhere across town, my family was probably still processing their letters, still finding ways to blame everyone but themselves, still believing that girls don't need money. They were wrong, of course. Girls need money for exactly the same reason boys do. Power. And thanks to Grandma, I finally had both.